Hi, this is Franklin Allaire, State Director for the Hawaii State Science Olympiad, and welcome to part 2 of our basic training series. In this part, we're going to be talking about some of the basics of signing up your team to participate in Science Olympiad, as well as a little bit about the events and what to expect when you come to a Science Olympiad tournament. So let's just dive right in. To participate, your school must register online at www.hsso.org. All of our registration is online, and when you register, there is a registration fee of $100. Now, this is a one-time registration fee, and this will cover you for all regional, statewide, and national Science Olympiad tournaments that you may qualify for. Now, HSSO does have a policy in place where a school can have up to 2 teams per division. And if your school decides to have a second team, we are offering a discount of $80 to register that second team. You must register your second team separately. So that's an important point to make. But when you do register that second team, again, the registration fee for that second team is only $80 as opposed to the $100 registration fee for your first team. Now, as I mentioned before, this registration fee covers you for all regional, statewide, and national Science Olympiad tournaments that you may qualify for. Most importantly, it's going to get you and your students a copy of the rules manual. So here are the rules manuals for this current year. And in the rules manual, it has everything that your team needs to know to prepare and participate in a Science Olympiad tournament. So it's got all of the rules, all of the regulations, all of the event parameters, as well as how many of the events are going to be scored at each of the tournaments. So you're walking into the tournament, and your students are coming into the tournament knowing what to expect. Now, not only is it going to get you a copy of the rules manual, but the registration fee this year also will include a 1-year membership to the Hawaii Science Teachers Association. One of the concerns we've gotten in the past from teachers is to find some ways for teachers to communicate with each other both during the school year and outside the school year, and to share some hints and tips, as well as keep up to date on scholarships and grant opportunities. And so HSSO is partnering with HASTA as a way to facilitate that communication. Now, when your team registers to participate in Science Olympiad, you can register for any one of our 5 regional tournaments. So let's take a look at those dates and locations. As you can see here, we have 5 regional tournaments happening all during the year. So we've got one on Hawaii Island, one on Kauai, one on Maui, and 2 on Oahu, one at Leeward Community College and one at Windward Community College. Most of the tournaments are on the weekends because it's just much easier to arrange with the host sites. The exception is Kauai Regional Tournament will be on a Monday, but that is going to be a holiday, so that's something to keep in mind. And again, when you register, you can register for any of these 5 regional tournaments. They are open tournaments, which means that any school, any team from any island can compete in any of these regional tournaments. So that's something to think about. Now, if you decide to have 2 teams, both of those teams must register for the same regional tournament. Yes, they will be competing with each other at that tournament. Now, if your school is an intermediate and high school, and you have 2 Division B teams and 2 Division C teams, those different divisions do not have to be in the same regional tournament. But the 2 teams within the same division do have to be at the same regional tournament. Now, regional tournaments are qualifying tournaments, meaning that the schools, the teams that come in first, second, and third place in each division for the regional tournaments qualify to go to the statewide tournament, which, as you can see, is being held March 2nd, 2013 at Leeward Community College. Now, in the event that you field 2 teams and both of those teams qualify to go to the statewide tournament, HSSO does have a policy that says that each school can send only 1 team per division to the statewide tournament. So if you have 2 teams and both of those teams come in either first, second, or third place for a regional tournament, it will be up to you and your students to figure out how to merge those 2 teams to send only one team to the statewide tournament. We realize the inconvenience of this, but our policy mirrors the policy of many other states across the country that participate in Science Olympiad, and it also mirrors the national policy where each state is limited to sending only one team per division to the national level. So just speaking of which, just as regional tournaments are qualifying rounds for the statewide tournament, our statewide tournament is a qualifying round for the national tournament. And the teams that come in first place in Division B and Division C will qualify to compete and represent Hawaii at the national tournament. Now, the national tournament moves around from place to place. Last year, it was outside of Orlando, Florida. This coming year, it's going to be at Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio. So again, regional tournaments are qualifying rounds for the state tournament. The state tournament is a qualifying round for the national tournament. Now, let's talk about the events. As you can see here, there are 46 events in the National Science Olympiad. And at a national tournament, all 46 events get run. These 46 events are divided into 5 broad categories of science. You see we have life, personal, and social science, which contains events like anatomy, disease detectives, and water quality. We've got earth and space science with events like dynamic planet, meteorology, astronomy, and remote sensing. We've got physical science and chemistry with keep the heat, shock value, and circuit lab, as well as chemistry lab and forensics. We've got technology and engineering with Boomaliever, Mission Possible, and Gravity Vehicle. And last but not least, we have inquiry and nature of science, with events like metric mastery, experimental design, Write It, Do It, and technical problem solving. So again, all of the events at the national level are divided into 5 broad categories of science. Now, what we do at the state level, because of the facilities that we have where we run our state tournament, we are unable to run all 46 events. So what we've done for this coming year is we have whittled down these 46 events to 30 events that we'll be running at the statewide tournament in Hawaii. Now, I'm not going to run through each of these events, and that's because you can find descriptions of all of these events on our website, www.hsso.org. You can also find it at the national website, which is www.soinc.org. That's www.soinc.org. Again, we still have the 5 broad categories of science: life and personal and social science, earth and space science, physical science and chemistry, technology and engineering, inquiry and nature of science. And what we've tried to do at the state level as well as the regional level is to have a broad spectrum so that students with different gifts and talents and abilities can come in and find something to participate in at a Science Olympiad tournament. Now, when you come to a tournament, let's talk a little bit about what you can expect as far as the schedule goes. This is a sample schedule from last year's Leeward Regional Tournament, and I want to point out a couple of things here. First of all, regional tournaments run not as many events as we do at the state level. So you can see, for instance, here that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 events being run at the Leeward Regional Tournament last year. I believe that the Leeward Tournament will be running that same number of events, but not necessarily the same events at this year's regional tournament. Now, one thing to point out here is that there are 2 types of events. One is a closed event, and that is an event where the only people allowed in that event are the students participating in that event, the judges running the event, and anybody that's assisting the judges in that event. No parents, no coaches, no other students are allowed in that event, not only because it would be a distraction to those students participating, but also sometimes for safety reasons. For instance, in chemistry lab, students participating in it must be wearing goggles, aprons, long sleeves, long pants, closed-toed shoes. In the past, we have had parents trying to watch the event to see how their kids are doing in that event, and parents come walking in wearing shorts and t-shirts, no goggles, while eating a bag of chips and drinking a Diet Pepsi. So there are, various reasons for this. So again, we do have some events that are closed to the public. Now we realize that Science Olympiad events are exciting and that they're fun to watch. So we do also have some events that are open to the public. In fact, last year we had several of them. We had gravity vehicle, helicopters, and tower building were all open to the public. And that means that, first of all, those events are usually being held outside. Helicopters was the exception. But that means that students that aren't participating in that event, coaches, parents, volunteers, anybody that has a couple of minutes to spare can come and watch these events and see science in action. They're really cool events and they're really exciting. And it's something nice to do while you're waiting for maybe an event to come up, or if a student is all done with an event already. Now, taking a look at how this schedule is set up, we see that there are 4 blocks of, actually 5 blocks of time. We have 8 to 9 a.m., 9 to 9:50, 10 to 10:50, 11 to 11:50, and then 12:30. At bookending the schedule here, we have our sign-in and opening ceremonies, and then a closing and award ceremony. The actual competition for this schedule took place from 9 o'clock to about 11:50. And as you can see, certain events like disease detectives, anatomy and physiology, as well as Fermi questions and rocks and minerals were occurring at specific times. So that's something to think about as you compose your team and you take a look at the schedule, which we try to publish online as soon as possible. Is that certain events do happen at specific times. So you want to make sure that students are aware of the times that those events are occurring. Now, other events like gravity vehicle, helicopter, and towers are sign-up events. And that means that when the students arrive at the tournament, they sign up for a specific time for each of those events. So something to keep in mind is that if you have the same students participating in anatomy and physiology as you do in towers, or for this year it would be Boomalever, you need to they can sign up for any time from 9 o'clock to about 11:30, but they need to make sure that they are not registering to do to test their tower or their Boomalever during this 10 to 10:50 block, because that is when they will be in anatomy and physiology. And if they choose not to participate in an event, that can have an effect on your score, and that's something that we talk about in part 3 of our basic training series. So again, what we try to do is we try to publish the schedule online as quickly as possible to help you with forming your team. But it's very important to realize that just like it says here, this is a tentative schedule, and schedules can change based on the availability of certain facilities as well as the availability of judges. Now, finishing up today, thank you so much for watching, but last thought here is that we want to encourage you to get connected. If you ever have any questions or you need some information, of course, one of the first places that you should check is our website, www.hsso.org. You can always email us at hisciolympiad@gmail.com. And of course, we are on Facebook, so please go online and like our page so that you can be kept up to date with all of the latest and greatest Science Olympiad news and information. And you can find that page at www.facebook.com/hisciolympiad. Well, until we see you again in part 3, aloha.